السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. محدثتكم المدرس المساعد هدير جاسم محمد، تخصص لغة إنجليزية علم اللغة من قسم الترجمة كلية الآداب الجامعة المستنصرية. هذه المحاضرة تخص مادة الصوت، مادة علم الصوت لطلاب المرحلة الثانية. In today's lecture I'm going to talk about how to describe consonant sounds from three components. But before to describe or to learn about how to describe consonant sounds, let's take a quick glance about phonetics. What is phonetics and phonology, and what are the organs of speech that help us to produce sounds? Phonetics is a branch of linguistics, and we can divide the word phonetics into two parts. First, phone means sound, and tics means the scientific study for something. So we can say phonetics is the scientific study of a human speech sounds. It deals with the physical properties of sounds. While phonology is a branch of linguistics, it is the scientific study of the system patterns of speech sounds used in a particular language or in a language in general. Phonology is the system of rules, representation, and principles governing the distribution of sounds, which allows us to distinguishing meaning in the actual physical sounds we hear and we say. Let's move to talk about what are the organs of speech. First of all, let's see what's the articulatory or the articulatory phonetics. Is the study of how speech sounds are produced and articulated. So let's see what's the organs of speech. It is first, let's start with the articulators above the larynx. Here is the larynx area. We will start from what is the larynx. Larynx is very important articulator in speech production because it contains the vocal folds that are responsible for making vibration. This is the larynx. Then we have the vocal folds, or also we can say it vocal cords. Both are the same, giving us the same meaning. It's two thick strips of muscles inside the larynx. When they are opened, they are produce voiceless sounds, and when they are brought together, they are producing voiced sounds. Glottis is the gap between the vocal folds. Then we have the pharynx. Pharynx, it is in this area. It's a tube above the larynx. It is 7 centimeters long in women and 8 centimeters long in men. It is divided into two. One is being back to the mouth or oral cavity, and the second goes to the nose, and also we can say it goes to the nasal cavity. Then we have velum, or we can say soft palate, is the articulator which allows the air to pass through the mouth or through the nose. The tongue can touch it. Then we have the hard palate. It is placed in the area between velum, soft palate, and the alveolar ridge. It's also called roof of the mouth. Then we have uvula. It's the end of velum which hangs down above the bag of the tongue near the pharynx. Then we have the tongue, which is the most important part or the most important articulator in speech production. Why? Because it can be moved to many sides through the oral cavity, and it can shape different sounds. It has composed of different parts, which is tip of the tongue, blade of the tongue, and front of the tongue, back of the tongue, and also the last part is root of the tongue. Then we have teeth. Teeth are placed at the front of the mouth, just behind the lips. The higher teeth participate in the production of dental and labiodental consonants, which we are going to discuss it later. And then we have the last thing. It is the lips are two important articulators because they involve in the production of many speech sounds, such as bilabial and labiodental. Okay, before to talk about consonants, let's see how many letters first do we have in English language. We have around 26 alphabet letters, English alphabet letters in English language. And these 26 letters, they are represented in 44 sounds. Each sound has its own symbol. So these 44 sounds consist of, we have 20 vowel sounds and we have 24 consonant sounds. Consonant, any speech sound as it is represented, it is like t, f, or z. This is characterized by an articulation which is a closure or narrowing of the vocal tract, such that a complete partial blockage of the flow air produced airflow from lung is obstructed in some. We have the vowels. What is a sound that is made by allowing breath to flow out of the mouth without closing any part of the mouth or throat, like such as when we, for example, sing ah or the e sound, we are not closing, we are not making any closing of any part of the mouth. So to talk about our main topic, to describe or characterizing consonants from three components, we have to describe consonant in terms of first place of articulation, then second manner of articulation, and the last thing we have the voicing. Let's see what's the place of articulation. The place of articulation, it's the place from where sound is produced, is known as place of articulation. The place where our active and passive articulators come near is known as a place of articulation. The time of articulation, the place where the opening is narrowest, is known as place of articulation. And what are these possible places that we can produce consonants? It is lips, teeth, roof of the mouth. It's the palate, velum, uvula, pharynx. These are the places that through it we can produce consonant sounds. So let's start with the first position, and we call it bilabial. What is bilabial? The lower lips approach or touch each other, so we will have these sounds like p, and we have the b, and we have the ma. When we are trying to touching upper lip against lower lip, we will have the sounds like p. This sounds called bilabial. Then we have the labiodental. What is the labiodental? It is the lower lip approaches, that touches the upper teeth. For example, when we are saying fa or va, we will notice that the lower lip touches the upper teeth, so we will have fa or va. This is the labiodental sound. Then we have dental, or we can say interdental sound. What is the dental sound? The tip of the blade of the tongue approaches, that touches the upper teeth. For example, when we have the and when we have the th sound, we will recognize that we are putting our tongue between our upper and lower teeth. This is the dental or interdental sound. Then we have alveolar. Alveolar, the tongue tip approaches or touches the velar ridge, the alveolar ridge, or the ridge immediately behind the upper teeth. So we will have t and d, and we have the s and z, and we have the n. When we are trying to produce these, it is called alveolar. We have the palatal. The body or touches the hard palate, such as ye. Tongue body approaches the hard palate, but closely enough to create turbulence in the air stream. So palatal, it's like when we are saying ye sound. Then we have velar. What is velar? The body of the tongue approaches or touches the soft palate, like when we are saying ke and ge and ing. We will notice that the end of the tongue touches the velar, or we can say. And then at the end we have glottal. What's the glottal? The glottis, it's the opening between the vocal folds or the vocal cords, such as ha sound. In ha sound, this opening is narrow enough to create some turbulence in the air stream flowing past from the vocal folds. When we are producing ha sound, the vocal folds, it will open and it will let the air stream goes through the mouth. This is the glottal. So this is all are the place of articulations. Now let's see what's voice and voiceless sounds. Voice and voiceless sounds, individual sounds in English, can be divided into two categories. We have voiced and voiceless sounds. Knowing the distinction can be helpful when practicing difficult sounds such as word endings. Voice sounds require a vibration of the vocal cords, which are located in your throat. like for example, we can feel when we are putting our hands on our throats and we are saying, for example, z sound, we will notice that there is vibration in our throat. And on the contrary, voiceless sounds, they do not vibrate. When we are producing them in the vocal cords, we can do the same thing. We can put our fingers on our throat and we can pronounce sa sound. We will feel that there is no vibration. So these are, we can call it voiceless sounds. And we have many of voiced and voiceless sounds. Now the third thing to describe a consonant, it's a manner of articulation. The type of opening, what is the manner of articulation? It's the type of opening of the articulation. Or the manner of articulation is the way the air stream is affected as it flows from the lungs and out to the nose or mouth. The first type of manner of articulation, we have the nasal. What's the nasal? Nasal consonants are created when you completely block air flow through your mouth and let the air pass through your nose. For example, when we are saying m and n and ing sound, okay, these are nasal sounds, like we are trying to block air from our mouth and let the air pass through our nose. So we will have m, n and ing. It's nasal sounds. And then we have stop consonants. It's occur when the vocal tract is closed completely. But after stop, the airflow is not redirected through the nose. Instead, the air quickly builds up a pressure behind the articulation and then released in a burst. These are stop. First, we will have the air, then it will release as a burst, as a plosion. So we will have like p and b and t and g and k. These are all stops consonant sounds. Then we have the fricative. Fricative sounds, it's while nasal and stop consonants involve in a complete blockage of the vocal tract, fricative sounds involve only a partial blockage of the vocal tract, so the air has to be forced through a narrow channel. It's unlike the stop. The stop, we have a full blockage. In fricative, we have a partial blockage, so the air, it's going through the vocal tract as if it's going through a narrow channel. So we will have these fricative sounds like th and the, and we have th and the and sa, za, sha, ja and ja. These are all fricative sounds. Then we have the affricate. Affricate consonant, it's a combination between stop and fricative sounds. Because when stop consonant mixed with fricative consonants, the result is affricate sounds. Affricate consonants start as the stop sounds with air building up behind an articulator, which then releases through a narrow channel as a fricative. So it will start as a stop and it will end as a fricative. We will have then affricate sounds such as cha, cha sound, and such as ja sound. Cha as check and match, and J as a jam or badge. Then we have the lateral. Lateral consonant are when the tongue blocks the middle of the mouth, so the air has to pass through the sides. Like we have the la sound. We will feel that the tongue is in the middle and there is the air pass from both sides of the tongue. We will have la, such as the word luck. Then we have the trill. In phonetics, trill is a consonant and sound produced by vibration between the active articulator and passive articulator. Usually a trill vibrate 2 or 3 contacts, but maybe up to 5 or even more if however, for example, trills may also be produced with only one consonant, or we can say trills involve the vibration of one of the speech organs. For example, we have the ra sound. Ra sound. These are ra sound. We will notice that there is a trill from 2 to 3 times. This is the trill sound. Last thing, we have semi-vowels. In phonetics, semi-vowels or glid is a sound that is phonetically similar to to vowel sound, that's why it's called semi-vowel, but function as a syllable boundary. For example, in semi-vowel we have the consonant y and w, like yes and west. This is all the components of how to describe consonants from three parts: place of articulation, as I described, and voicing, whether this consonant is voiced or voiceless, and the last thing we talked about, manner of articulation. Now we have an example or a question. If in the exam we will ask that, can you characterize, or what are the features of a certain consonant? For example, we will have the consonant p. How we can describe it? P, first of it's from place of articulation, we have to describe it according to these 3 points. First, p is voiceless. P, I'm saying p, it's voiceless because when I'm producing p, there is no vibration in my throat, so it's voiceless. P again, it's bilabial. The place of articulation, it's bilabial because we are when we are pronouncing p, the upper lips, it is pressed against the lower lips, so we will have the bilabial sound. And the last thing, it's plosive. The manner of articulation of p sound, it's a plosive, because it will, first we will have like air in the mouth, then suddenly it will be like a burst. So plosive. So we can say p sound, it is a voiceless, bilabial, plosive, and so on. Whenever we are describing a consonant, we have to describe it through these 3 points, which is place of articulation, manner of articulation, and voicing, whether the consonant sound is voiced or voiceless. And that's it for today's lecture. Thank you so much for listening.